We are back with another live Johnny Torch broadcast. Only a quickie one today. We're not going to go more than like 15 minutes because we've just got one subject to talk about. And this is going to be part news roundup, part soapbox. But we're going to give an update on the Supergirl Please Punch a Big Robot campaign that I began, I believe, in August of last year. It was sometime in late summer, where I did a video, and you can still look it up. Maybe I'll link to it when this is over. But I did a video in fear of the cancellation of the Arrowverse shows, particularly Supergirl, because we all know Supergirl is the most SJW, and her head is on the proverbial chopping block the most. And I think probably hers will be the first to go. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here, but this is part of my ongoing campaign of Supergirl Please Punch a Big Robot. I've been keeping this up every time I review the show on Twitter. I was hoping it would catch on a little bit better than it did, but unfortunately, I seem to be the only person who seems to have a care for these shows, that they're going to get canceled, that they are ruining themselves, that they are getting just so laden with SJW platitudes, and it's really revolting. And part of the problem is I don't think there's enough support to save these shows. That's the thing. I think people would rather just walk away and not even put up the effort to try to save them. Like, we just need to start over. We need to scorch the earth and start from the ground up because quite honestly, to use an Arrow motif, the showrunners have failed this universe. They pretty much started on the decline when they let the Felicity shippers sort of take over the narrative, and Felicity became the one true love of Green Arrow, forsaking all continuity with the comics, who, of course, always had Black Canary as his love interest, which, you know, that is something that they botched themselves, I think, even before the Felicity problem, with mismanaging the character of Laurel and so forth. But not to get too bogged down, you could see the writing on the wall that this was not in the most competent of hands. They sort of moistened a finger, stuck it in the air, and tried to see which way the fandom was blowing, and tried to placate those fans. I'm gonna put a lot of the blame on Greg Bertolanti because, of course, he's in charge of the shows. He is the one that's architecting the universe, and when he started introducing too many SJW elements, such as the forced diversity, here we go with that term that is going to drive everybody up a wall. But yes, the forced diversity, forcing a gay or lesbian couple on every show, forcing their affair to be the most important thing in the show in most cases, in some cases not. But the only one who really escapes unscathed to a degree is the Flash. There's not a whole lot of SJW nonsense in it, but they force the narrative on Legends of Tomorrow that even though Sarah has been revealed to be bisexual, that she has to always have a lesbian love interest, even going so far as to have it be Alex Danvers and the crossover we see the image of here. And we also have, Supergirl. Of course, we could do a whole hour on Supergirl and how they became so woke. And the moral of the story is get woke, get canceled, because a lot of these shows are on the chopping block. Again, save The Flash. The Flash is sort of expected to survive this purge that's upcoming. Now, all the shows are safe for next season, but beyond that, they are saying there is going to be quote unquote major shakeups in the lineup of shows. Again, before we get to the news portion of it here, also, uh, Supergirl, of course, had its feminist leanings in the first season with the character of Cat Grant. Most people were able to sort of put up with her, although I realize a lot of people were put off by her to begin with and left the show even in the first season. But a lot of people stuck with it because they felt that they were at least trying to do comic inspired episodes. We had Bizarro Supergirl, who's never shown up again since the first season. We had For the Girl Who Has Everything, which of course was a take on the classic Alan Moore Superman story. Live Wire, a character that had a lot of familiarity from the animated series of Superman and so forth. So there was a connectivity to a comic version of Supergirl that we sort of could tenuously hold on to. Come the second season, again, the SJW virtue signaling had to start, where we had to make Alex gay, which in and of itself wouldn't be a big issue, but it got so bogged down in her coming out story, in her having this love affair with Maggie Sawyer that was sort of the Romeo and Juliet of CW Arrowverse, even to a point eclipsing the Felicity drama, the Olicity drama that was going on in Arrow. And so that was ridiculous. And of course, then we had Black Lightning, who failed to get a show on Fox. Of course, they are seriously straining credulity with the SJW racism topics. Uh, I try to give them a little bit of leeway there, but it is really, really getting annoying at this point as well. It's getting to be to the point where I am not seriously going to miss these shows once they start getting canceled. And I said that on Twitter a few months ago, that I had high hopes for this verse, this Arrowverse. I had high hopes that it would be something lasting, long lasting, that I would always want to go back to. But apart from the first 2 seasons of Arrow, the first 2 seasons of The Flash, arguably the first season of Supergirl, there really hasn't been anything to keep me coming back to the show. I mean, the first season of Legends was fun, and the premise is still fun, I think, to this day. But again, it's getting too bogged down in the woke garbage. So, what do we have now is they are saying that the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline, which was sort of suggested at the end of the crossover for this season, which I thought the crossover this season was pretty good, unlike the Crisis on Earth X, which I thought was way, way overblown. But the I saw the first signs of them being desperate when they recruited John Wesley Shipp as Barry Allen of Earth 90, the Flash, the original Flash. I knew something was up when that happened, because even though he really didn't play a huge part in the one episode he was in, basically, I mean, they did sort of a tease, and then they did the one episode he was in. They were basically trying to get the diehards, trying to get the old timers like myself that remember watching the original Flash as a kid and loving it, and trying to get some interest garnered and saying, look, we can still do the fun show. We can still do some fun episodes where we're not going to beat you over the head with soap opera drama or SJW topics and platitudes. So that was woefully underwhelming, the way they underutilized John Wesley Shipp. But still, the attempt was made, and I applauded them at the time, that I thought it was worthy of the crossover this season was worthy. Then they had Batwoman in the works, which we all knew would actually get a full season. I mean, I don't think anybody really doubted that it was going to get a full season. And of course, the first lesbian superheroine to get her own show. This season with Supergirl, we had Dreamer, the first uh, transgendered character who, as a superhero, got a live action show appearance in a show. And as I was expecting fully when I started the Supergirl Please Punch a Big Robot campaign back last year, I knew that the ratings would continue to suffer. They haven't been that great in the past year or so, and they are suffering even more now because they have doubled down on all this nonsense. Especially the whole narrative of the Supergirl series this season has been a very thinly veiled anti-Trump rhetoric thing, and a lot of fans are turned off and they're turning away. I think, regardless of your political affiliations, people don't turn into entertainment, into television, into movies, to see, propaganda. And I think that that is exactly what the Arrowverse has become. Now, is it too late to save it? That's the big question that I have. I don't think so. At this point, I don't expect much. Um, I started this campaign hoping that we could get the attention of some like-minded people, who would also in turn get some attention of the showrunners and the higher ups. But apparently That's not the way it works with SJWs. You know, they double down, they triple down, they go back to the well again and say, if you don't like it, there must be something wrong with you. How could you not applaud a transgender superhero getting the spotlight, or a lesbian superhero getting her own show, or you know, a lesbian couple being at the forefront of a TV show? The reason why a lot of people are not supportive of this is because it is in fact not entertaining. The idea of turning on a superhero TV show to see, you know, soap opera romance that you could probably find done better on any other show on any other network is not why we come to the Arrowverse. The point of comic books and superheroes is to have fun, to have an adventure, to not be struggling with the prejudices of real life. And if you are a talented enough writer, then maybe you could do some metaphorical issues brought up, but not season wide arcs, not beating us over the head with gender politics and racial politics and all of this nonsense that they've been throwing our way. The latest rumors are that, as far as I know anyway, that they're pretty much predicting that Legends of Tomorrow is going to be canceled because obviously it's the most expensive show to produce. As it stands now, the show has not shown most of the heroes using their powers. The Atom gets a token scene once every 3 episodes. Firestorm was taken off the show, obviously, but his power set being a very expensive one. Even Kid Flash, to an extent, leaving the show. So that's not surprising. I'm disappointed because I like a lot of the characters on these shows, and I wish if they were treated fairly, if they were treated as they should have been, we would have a tremendous universe here. Why did Smallville last as long as it did? Because we weren't in the era of virtue signaling and SJW politics having to permeate every storyline. And again, I love all these actors. I love Melissa Benoist. I think is just fantastic. Stephen Amell has given so much to this universe. Katie Lotz, Grant Gustin, the list goes on and on. But it doesn't seem like there is much hope for them. Again, Legend is supposedly going to be canceled. Apparently, Arrow is going to be canceled. Of course, if you haven't seen the Elseworlds crossover, the hint along the lines was that Ollie made some sort of deal with the devil slash the anti-monitor, where his life will be probably forfeit for the sake of Kara and Barry. Uh, as for it's kind of hard. A lot of people are saying they're going to replace Oliver with a new Arrow, which would be his sister in the series right now. He has a sister that is not Thea, which we'll get into some other time, but I don't think that's going to work out. You can't just replace Oliver Queen with anybody else's Green Arrow. I don't think that's going to work out. And as far as The Flash being the only show that will probably survive unscathed, it won't quite be unscathed because Carlos Valdez is supposedly going to leave the show. There's a lot of rumor about that. I don't think anybody's come right out and said it, at least at this point. He's had a very limited run of appearances this season, only being in a handful, basically every other episode. Not sure if that it's a sign that he's slowly being eased out of the show. And also, there's been rumblings that Danielle Panabaker isn't pleased with her contract and might possibly leave the show. I think they're kind of trying to negotiate with her. I wouldn't be surprised if she stays with the show. They've also thrown her a bone by letting her direct, which is always a good sign of keeping the talent on a little bit longer on a show like that. But again, a lot of CW series last. They run for what is Supernatural on now? 15 seasons. A lot of these shows I expected to last 10, 11, 12, 15 seasons. I certainly expected Arrow and Flash to run that long. Um, barring maybe injury or not wanting to do the rigors of the production schedule. Maybe if Grant Gustin and Stephen Amell wanted to leave, but apart from that, I would stay. I would say that they would stay with the show for at least 10 seasons, both of them. But they might not have a choice because ratings are plummeting. Because why? Get woke, get canceled. I predicted this Way back last summer, I said if they don't start snapping into shape, I was afraid Supergirl would be the first to go. It probably will be. Again, the rumor has it that they're going to replace it with a Superman show. I don't particularly buy that because when you're dealing with SJWs like this, they cannot find it within themselves to replace a female-led superhero series with a male-led superhero series of the same franchise. You know what I mean? I don't see that happening. I would probably expect maybe they're going to try to push Superman a little bit more. That's another reason why he was brought back for the crossover this season. But still, I don't know. I don't know exactly how it's going to turn out next season. But apparently, what's probably going to happen is we're going to have most of these heroes probably going to be because the idea is because it's Crisis on Infinite Earths, they're all going to merge into one Earth, and we're only going to have one Earth to deal with. Supergirl, Black Lightning, they'll all appear in the same continuity. They won't be on separate Earths, and I'm guessing what that's going to lead to is that we're going to have probably one big show. I think in lieu of Legends, what they're probably going to do is retool the idea of Legends. Do they want to call it Justice League? I'm not sure, but they're probably going to take a few key members of Legends, such as Sarah Lance, probably the Atom, probably I don't know about Heatwave, maybe Citizen Steel. They're probably going to handpick a handful of them, Vixen, for, without a doubt, and they're going to put them probably as the sort of surrounding cast of a Justice League series. Then we'll have characters like Supergirl and Arrow, who have had their shows canceled, probably take up residence in this show, and they'll probably just try to continue limping along with the Flash. With I don't know, Black Lightning, they might get another season out of, and definitely Batwoman. So again, let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you want to see for the future of the Arrowverse? Do you think they should all just go down and scorch the earth, start over fresh, maybe give it a few years, maybe just table a television DC universe altogether and focus on the movies, which, again, that's sort of a fledgling prospect right there. We don't know what's going to happen with Man of Steel, with the Batman. We still don't have a lot of the heavy hitters still in the DCEU taking up prominence. And would you like to save this show? If you'd like to save this show, get on Twitter and tweet the hashtag Supergirl. Please punch a big robot. Please, please bring some fun, bring some enjoyment back to the DC Arrowverse. It's something that I had high hopes for that apparently it's in the process of crashing and burning. Let's put it that way. And I really seriously hope there is a way to save it. So until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly and get woke, go broke.